One country invades another over a lost soccer match. Hydrogen bombs tumble from the sky, and only a single broken switch stops a city from vanishing. Factories poison their own workers, entire populations choke on invisible killers, and a freak explosion flattens forests with the force of the mightiest nuclear weapon. There is even a year when the sun seemed to disappear, and no one knew why. We are counting down 10 real historical events that sound impossible, but came terrifyingly close to rewriting the future for everyone on Earth. From accidental apocalypses to disasters that swept continents, each entry reveals just how narrow the line really is. Let's start the countdown with number 10. A 4-day war ignited by a soccer game. In the 10th place, a soccer match triggered a war that killed up to 2,000 people in just 4 days. In June 1969, World Cup qualifiers between El Salvador and Honduras exploded into riots, mass arrests, and the expulsion of thousands of Salvadoran migrants. By July 14th, El Salvador's army rolled across the border, seizing Honduran towns as fighter planes strafed roads below. The Organization of American States scrambled to broker a ceasefire, but not before the chaos left thousands dead and entire communities fleeing for safety. If the invasion had dragged on, Cold War pressure could have drawn in U.S. troops, turning a regional crisis into a global flashpoint. The soccer war stands as proof that even the smallest spark, just a game, can set the world on fire. Number 9. 2 hydrogen bombs, each packing nearly 3 megatons, over 200 times the force of Hiroshima, fell from a disintegrating B-52 over North Carolina in 1961. Only a single low-voltage switch, battered but unbroken, stood between the eastern United States and nuclear annihilation. One bomb slammed into a muddy field, its arming sequence ticking through 5 of 6 safety stages. Had that last switch failed, a fireball would have vaporized entire towns, with fallout poisoning the region for generations. The Goldsboro incident laid bare the terrifying fragility of early nuclear safeguards, a moment where a simple mechanical flick determined if millions lived or died. From routine patrol to the edge of apocalypse, Goldsboro's near miss forced the world to confront just how close the Cold War came to ending in a flash. 8th place, a year when summer never came. In 1816, snow blanketed New England in June, and Europe's wheat fields withered under a sky gone cold. The cause was Mount Tambora's eruption in Indonesia, which hurled nearly 150 cubic kilometers of ash and sulfur into the stratosphere. Sunlight dimmed, global temperatures plunged by up to 2 degrees Celsius, and harvests failed across continents. In parts of Europe, crop losses reached 90%. Starvation and disease swept through villages, while desperate families abandoned their homes and migrated to the American Midwest. The world's food supply unraveled, all because a single volcano darkened the sky. From volcanic fury to frozen fields, the year without a summer exposed just how thin the line is between order and chaos. Number 7. 5 Phantom missiles flashed red on a Soviet console, each one a supposed U.S. nuclear launch bearing down on Moscow. It was 3 a.m. on September 26, 1983, and Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov sat alone at the nerve center of the Soviet Oko early warning system. The computers screamed attack. Protocol demanded he reported up the chain, triggering instant retaliation, global nuclear war, millions dead in minutes. But Petrov hesitated. The pattern was wrong. Only 5 missiles, not the hundreds a real first strike would launch. He called it a false alarm, risking his career and his life. Later, engineers confirmed sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds had fooled the satellites. One officer's calm judgment overrode the machines and kept the world from burning. In a bunker thick with tension, a single human pause was all that stood between civilization and annihilation. Number 6. Workers painted their own deaths onto glowing watch faces. In the 1920s, more than 300 young women at radium dial factories shaped their brushes with their lips, swallowing tiny doses of radioactive paint every shift. At first, the only sign was a luminous smile. Then teeth fell out, jaws rotted from the inside, and bone cancers devoured bodies alive. Doctors called it radium jaw, but company executives denied any danger and blamed the women for their own suffering. By 1925, the first lawsuits reached the courts, forcing the truth into the open. The agony of the radium girls did not just reveal a hidden killer, it shattered corporate immunity and rewrote industrial safety law. Without their fight, millions of workers might have faced silent poisoning in the atomic age. From a promise of progress to a legacy of pain, their sacrifice still glows in every workplace protection today. Number 5. A city suffocated by its own air. In December 1952, London vanished beneath a lethal fog so thick it turned day into night. For 4 days, a temperature inversion locked cold air and coal smoke over the city, trapping a toxic brew of sulfur dioxide and microscopic soot. By the time the skies cleared, at least 12,000 people were dead, and some estimates put the toll as high as 15,000. Hospitals overflowed, streets filled with the sound of coughing, and even cattle collapsed in the fields. The Great Smog's death toll stunned the world, exposing how a modern metropolis could be brought to its knees by invisible killers. The crisis forced Parliament to act, passing the Clean Air Act in 1956 and banning raw coal in urban homes. Had the government hesitated, chronic smog could have claimed tens of thousands more, crippling Britain's workforce and economy for a generation. From a city shrouded in darkness to a nation finally seeing clean air, London's smog proved that the environment can turn deadly in a single breath. Number 4. Entire civilizations vanished almost overnight. In less than 50 years, around 1200 BCE, dozens of palaces from Mycenae to Hatti to Ugarit went up in flames or fell silent, their archives buried in ash. Archaeologists trace a wave of destruction so fierce that nearly a third of known settlements across the eastern Mediterranean were abandoned. The flow of tin, the lifeblood of bronze, collapsed as trade routes snapped, and bronze production plummeted by up to 70%. Drought scorched fields, earthquakes toppled cities, and waves of invaders known as the Sea Peoples struck shattered kingdoms already on their knees. Written records simply stop. In the aftermath, literacy faded, economies shrank, and the ancient world fractured into isolated villages. Had the networks of trade and power survived, the Iron Age might have arrived centuries later, rewriting the story of Greece, Egypt, and every society that followed. Then came the collapse. The world's first global system blinked out, leaving only ruins where empires once stood. Coming to the top 3, a single vote in the suffocating dark nearly sparked World War III. On October 27, 1962, deep beneath the Atlantic, Soviet submarine B-59 was battered by exploding depth charges from U.S. destroyers. Inside, the air was thick with heat and panic. The captain, convinced war had started, ordered the crew to arm their secret weapon, a nuclear torpedo with the force of Hiroshima, 15 kilotons, ready to vaporize the American fleet above. Soviet launch protocol demanded unanimous consent from 3 officers. 2 said yes. Vasily Arkhipov, the flotilla's senior officer, said no. He alone refused to turn the key. For 20 minutes, the fate of the world hung on Arkhipov's descent. Had he faltered, that single torpedo would have triggered instant U.S. retaliation, dozens of cities gone in hours, millions dead, nuclear winter descending. Instead, the sub surfaced, the order was rescinded, and the planet exhaled. One man's calm under crushing pressure kept the Cold War from ending in fire. From claustrophobic silence to the edge of annihilation, the B-59 incident is a reminder that civilization's survival can depend on a single stubborn refusal. Number 2, a blast so powerful it flattened 2,000 square kilometers of Siberian forest in a single instant. On June 30th, 1908, a fireball brighter than the sun streaked across the Tunguska River basin and exploded high in the atmosphere, 5 to 10 kilometers above the ground. The shockwave snapped trees like matchsticks, radiating outward in a perfect circle. No crater, no debris, just 80 million trees leveled, their trunks pointing away from a vanished epicenter. The energy released matched a 10 to 15 megaton bomb, enough to erase a city the size of London in a heartbeat. For decades, the world had no idea what happened. Only in 1927 did scientists reach the site, stunned by the devastation. If that asteroid or comet fragment had arrived just hours later, it would have struck over St. Petersburg or Moscow, hundreds of thousands dead, and history rewritten by a random cosmic bullet. The Tunguska explosion is a silent warning. Sometimes the greatest threats do not come from human hands, but from the sky itself. And finally, in first place, a year when the sun refused to shine. In 536, darkness settled over Europe and Asia for 18 months. Chroniclers wrote of a yellow fog that dimmed the sun by day and blotted out the stars at night. Procopius, a Byzantine historian, described sunlight as without brightness, like the moon. Tree rings from Ireland to Siberia shrank to their narrowest in 2 millennia, evidence of a sudden, brutal cold. Ice cores in Greenland captured thick layers of volcanic sulfate, proof of a cataclysmic eruption, likely in Iceland, that hurled ash into the stratosphere. Summer temperatures plunged by 1.5 degrees Celsius. Crops withered in the fields. Famine swept across continents. In China, snow fell in August. In Ireland, bread failed for years. The Byzantine Empire, already strained by war, buckled under the weight of hunger and chaos. Within a decade, the first wave of the Justinian plague struck, killing millions and fracturing the ancient world. The darkness of 536 did not just chill the air, it shattered empires, erased harvests, and set off a century of collapse. From a single volcanic blast, civilization teetered on the edge of oblivion, reminding us how little stands between order and catastrophe. Across all 10, one brutal pattern emerges. History isn't shaped by certainty, but by razor-thin margins and the chaos of chance. Civilizations balance on moments no one sees coming. Our world isn't inevitable, it's fragile, unpredictable, and always just one shock away from rewriting itself.